Good morning. Welcome to the Homes Podcast, Episode 8. We're here in Schenectady. We're joined by Colleen Cirilla, and of course, Maurice Brown has come back and helped fill a seat. What a beautiful day to be outside. What a beautiful day to be alive, and hopefully a great day to talk about real estate.
Sounds good.
Colleen, first time on the show. Can you give us some introduction about yourself?
Yeah, so I was born and raised pretty much here in Rotterdam. Went to University at Albany for college, Albany Law School for law school, graduated in 2003, and I've been a practicing attorney ever since.
So you're about 20 years of practicing law?
Amazingly enough, yes.
That makes you the expert.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I'm curious, though, when it comes to, like, the length of time that an attorney is, like, in work, does it take a while to kind of get ready, or do you kind of just learn everything and it's not enough change that you have to keep up with?
No, it takes a while. I mean, I was 23 years old when I was literally like into the bar. So 23 years old, I was a practicing attorney, which is why I tell my kids just keep going, because before you know it, I mean, you do the 4 years of college and 3 years of law school, and 23, 24 years old, you're an attorney. And when I first started, pretty much like most attorneys, you did everything, just try to make money. You know, I went out on my own. I never worked for anybody, so that was a huge step for me. Went out on my own and then was doing everything from divorce law to, back then I actually wasn't even doing real estate law. I did anything that came in through the door, I did. So it did take a while. It's stressful when you do it that way. And then over time, I kind of found my niche in real estate law. It was good to have a family with, good to still be able to, you know, do everything I wanted to do, and provided me that opportunity. So I've been doing real estate law truly probably like 15 years now.
So are you mostly or exclusively real estate law now?
For the most part. I mean, back in the day, I actually, did work for the public defender a little bit.
Okay.
So I did have a bit of a criminal background, but not real easy when you're working out of your house or getting started to do criminal law.
Sure.
So yeah, right now I can still do the average speeding ticket. I will still do trusts and estates that are simple, like simple wills.
Yeah.
Things like that. And then primarily after that, real estate law.
So everyone always asks, in real estate law, does your practice also include evictions?
It did. Yes.
Does it still?
No.
Okay.
Now with the new rules and the new laws that changed with, 14 days, rather than 3 days now. Mm-hmm. And then with COVID, it just got so complicated.
Sure.
And it didn't make it, unfortunately, worth my time to keep pursuing the evictions. I did it for years, up until literally probably COVID.
Yeah. And then ERAP became the start-all, end-all of conversation. I've started an application. I don't need to finish it. I'm done.
Yeah. I mean, COVID made evictions hard.
Yeah, sure.
And time-consuming and costly.
Yep.
And there's some actual other really good companies that just focus on eviction law. And I usually just recommend my clients to them because really it's just more cost effective for them.
What I find and not that I want to dwell on it, when we talk about evictions, I find time is the biggest value add. So if someone's trying to do it themselves to save $3,000, but it takes them 3 extra months, they've actually lost money by not spending the money.
And the rules and the laws with eviction law are changing all the time.
Yep.
I mean, it before COVID was different laws. After COVID, there's new laws. So because the laws are changing so much, I never recommend any of my clients do it on their own because of time.
Yeah.
You could have somebody out probably about a month and a half, depending on the situation. Whereas if you're trying to do it yourself, you're right, you could be 3-4 months in and waste time.
And then get it thrown out because you forgot some filing.
Yes.
But I don't want to dwell on that. I want to dwell on the positive of real estate because things have the pendulum swung back a little bit, and I don't want to scare people away from buying multifamilies. That wasn't the point of the question. I want to talk about the mental emotional changing point where you say I'm going to start focusing on real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Like what was there a factor, or was it fun, or do you have a closing that was a point, or you met an agent that was going to feed you? Like, what was that? What was that?
So for me to get started, my uncle back in the day, Frank Pasanella was his name. He was part of Remax. He had been a long-time realtor, God knows how long. I mean, forever. Mm-hmm. And for a little while, actually, I did move out of the area. My husband was in medical school down in Long Island, so we moved down there. We were down there for about 2 years. And then when I came back up, it was kind of like a big challenge again. Okay, what law do I want to get back into? Mm-hmm. My uncle being a real estate agent for Remax back then, he's like, well, why don't you start doing my real estate closings for me?
Sure.
So I said, great. It was like a good start. Plus I was a mom. I think I had my first child then. I might have even been pregnant with my son. So trying to figure out all the logistics of being a mother and a working mother at the same time. So my uncle said, start doing real estate. I did it, and it just was a perfect fit. For me, it was no more going to trials, no more going to court, no more nighttime court. Real estate law was during the day, like a typical banking hours, 8 to 5, something like that. And it was a perfect fit. And then once I got into it, thankfully my name got out there, and I started getting more and more recommendations every day.
Cool. So you've actually started your own practice twice then?
Yes.
Once out of college and once moving back to the area?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to imagine that's challenging to do the same struggle to start over twice.
Yeah, I mean, I got started right off the bat and, had a little bit of a practice, and we moved down to Long Island. And it was funny down there, I did education law. I mean, you kind of name it.
Oh, wow.
I even substitute taught.
Oh, really?
Yes, I did for a little bit.
Yep.
So you guys have that in common.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, his was overseas, but
Yep.
Yes, I did some substitute teaching down there. I took on a couple educational cases because when I was in college, I actually did intern for Griffin and Falazza, which is a big education law firm here. So I figured, why not when I was down there? I did a couple things like that. So, and then coming back, I had to literally start all over again.
Do you now have a brick and mortar location where people can visit you, or do you still work out of the home?
Nope, I always have a home office because it's just the way to go. But I do have an actual office down in Rotterdam.
Yep.
We're actually moving. Right now, we're actually going to go down a little bit farther on Duanesburg. We're going to be at 1126 Duanesburg Ave.
Cool.
So we have an actual office. People can come see us. I'm there pretty much only by appointment only, but
Yeah.
we have an actual place to visit.
So as an agent, the only agent in my firm here, I don't have an office. So I can use my broker's office, but I don't have a desk there. I have a ping pong table, to play with or something, but I've only ever been asked to go to the office twice in 100 and something deals,
And which has changed. I
Yeah.
mean, from a real estate standpoint, back in the day, Miranda, all of them used to have multiple offices across the.
Big, beautiful office with a chair, and if there's not a secretary and a bathroom and a coffee machine, you weren't real.
Yeah, and I remember back then you'd have signs out that said agent on duty. I haven't seen one of those in years.
I have at Saratoga.
Have you really?
Yeah.
On Broadway?
Yeah,
Got to be on Broadway.
Yeah, Scott's
Yeah.
out there. Scott's out there.
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't. Most of the time, offices aren't needed. But still, to see my clients, I just had someone call me this morning for a will. It's nice to have a place to take them and do a
Absolutely.
will and a meeting and things like that.
It's hard to do it in the living room with a dog.
Chasing
the
or
chickens off the back.
Starbucks. You can't
Yep.
do that too often.
Yeah.
Wait, can you have chickens in Rotterdam?
Yes, you can actually. Certain amount in certain areas.
And Niskuna.
I think you can't have
Well, of
more than
course, it's
6. I don't know the true law on that, but you can have chickens in Rotterdam.
I think the biggest issue that people really have with that is they confuse the fact that roosters are roosters and chickens are chickens.
Hens are hens.
Hens are hens, excuse me.
Chicken is.
So they think chicken, they think you're including roosters all
Yep.
the time. But more commonly, when I hear people say chicken, they're referring to a hen.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't want the rooster cock-a-doodle-doodling at
Yeah.
6 a.m.
I think there are some rules about it, but I think
I think there might be
you
that one
can
too.
do it in Schenectady. I think it's a whole thing.
This is news to me.
There are chickens in Schenectady, definitely.
For sure.
Well, people drive 31 to 32,
Well,
right? It's
okay,
what you get
there are
away with.
legal
Okay.
chickens in Schenectady. Look at you, just trying to tear down the place. He's gonna flip the table on me
gonna
because of
flip the table.
chickens.
Chicken law. Oh man.
I'm pretty sure, I can't remember who it is, but one of those garden kind of setups, they actually have a chicken coop. I think in the winter, somebody adopts the chickens for the winter time because they can't be outside or something like that. But I'm fairly certain there are. I'm gonna look.
He's
it
going
up.
to look, because that is outside the scope of my law.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think chicken law is niche in the area.
I was on the phone with an agent yesterday, making sure that they got the offer submitted for a city property, and my daughter, it was after school, walks in and says, "Daddy, there's chickens eating the cat food." I have a smart chicken and a dumb chicken. Let's say an average chicken and one that knows how to open a cat door.
Huh?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, some chickens are smarter than others.
Yeah, I have 40 of them, but I just feed them and don't pay attention to them.
You have 40 chickens?
Yeah, I live in the country.
I feel like we've talked about chickens, and I want to talk about trolleys soon. Chickens and upcoming trolley conversations a lot on this podcast.
that's chickens and trolleys.
Chickens are
chickens and
important
trolleys.
nowadays. It's
I
a
should
big
get you a
thing.
T-shirt that
Yeah.
says chickens and trolleys on it.
We can make it. We can make Schenectady famous for chickens and trolleys.
I don't know if our
not?
council wants you to make us famous for chicken.
Why not?
I kind of like that's kind of a cool shirt.
Chickens
though.
and trolleys? Yeah. We could have chickens riding the trolley.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Although there's no trolley, so I would be very disappointed if I were to come to Schenectady and then don't see a trolley and you just told me you're famous for chickens.
I want to fix both those things.
Okay.
About
You're
the
trying to get a
system.
trolley
Yeah,
downtown.
no, they're already
Schenectady.
there.
He said he's gonna be the
They're
trolley
already
guy.
there. Van Rankin has got a piece of missing blacktop or macadam or whatever you want to call it, and you can see the old trolley line there. It's right there. It's like, oh, look, history below our feet every day.
Yeah, there's a whole conspiracy theory thing that somebody was telling us last time about.
Yeah.
When it came to
Who killed the electric
trolleys.
arm?
Yeah.
All right, good luck with that one, guys.
Okay, so we're at a table. We're having a great discussion here. At a closing, can you go through who you normally see at a closing and what their roles are, and then dive into your role as an attorney, and then after that, I want to talk about your role before, during, and after the closing table as an attorney.
And then usually at the closing, for the most part, you can kind of guarantee 3 people. One, the bank attorney. So if you got a mortgage, you have your bank there you have the bank attorney who's representing the bank. They're your money people. You have your buyer's attorney, your seller's attorney. Both of our clients, a lot of times sellers don't come anymore. I mean, it's a 50-50 crapshoot. I got a couple tomorrow, and one of my sellers is signing docs today at 3:45 because they're not going to come tomorrow. But, and then you have your buyers. And then, again, even with the agents, sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. They do a great job from start to finish, but not necessarily that they have to be there at the closing. I mean, really, you could truly just do a closing with the buyer's attorney and the bank attorney. Even the seller's attorney, if they want to drop off paperwork, which I don't recommend a lot, but sometimes in dire situations we have to do that, they're there. But that's really about it at the table.
So we're going to have 3 attorneys if a bank is there, and if the seller doesn't pre-sign documents.
Yes.
I love pre-signed documents because
too.
then we can be more flexible based on the bank, because then we're looking at 2 attorneys instead of 3.
Yes.
And it makes it much easier to balance,
Yes.
especially busy season or on a Friday afternoon when everyone's trying to jam in so they can move on the weekend.
Yeah, my clients tomorrow are both teachers, and they were actually taking the day off yesterday to move everything out of the house because we kind of did this closing a little quick. So it's easier. I meet them today after school. They sign the documents, and it allows me to go at 12 o'clock when they can't go tomorrow and get a closing done.
I've sold a house and bought a house at a bar before.
I have not experienced that one yet.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can tell us the legality of that, but like when there's alcohol involved.
no,
I mean-
of sound, mind, and body. It's
If it's a
before-
cash deal, you could do it anywhere.
anywhere.
Oh wow.
Anywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, if it's a cash deal, why not?
Yep. So with a cash deal, we can actually get down to just the buyer's attorney,
Yes.
right? Because,
Yes.
because then there's no bank, and the seller could pre-sign documents at a previous time, or even the same location just an hour before. If because I think I was somewhere where they were trying to limit people in a room, so they would do like the seller documents half an hour before and the buyer documents there
During
during
COVID,
COVID.
absolutely.
Everything
Yes,
was
we were
crazy.
all in different rooms. Agents
Yeah.
weren't even allowed to come, which is
Yeah.
why them even coming back into the closings now is a 50-50 crapshoot because they weren't even allowed in the room.
Yep.
And then if I was a buyer's attorney or seller's attorney, we were separated in different rooms,
Mm-hmm.
and paperwork would literally just be brought
Yep.
from one room to the next.
I think I missed like 5 closings. It was almost always because it was the time my kids got off the bus. Like,
So it's always funny to me though, because I know when I was a loan officer and also when I was a closing agent, the realtors would get so upset with me because we were told to like the realtor's not necessary for this transaction, so cut them out the email. So, so we would just always like remove them, and then they get mad, and then they're like, "Why isn't anyone talking to me?" Like, and I'm like, "'Cause you're not necessary anymore."
Yeah, I mean, they've done a great job, and they're the ones that
Yeah,
make
like-
sure you get to the table. But by the time you get to the table, they don't have to
Yeah,
do anything
they-
more. So,
yeah, like they
so
gotta-
I don't. So yeah, you don't need to work the schedule around them.
Yeah.
You just need to work it around the buyer, the bank attorney, and the buyer's attorney.
Yes, I know. Like a lot of agents get upset about that.
my broker, Patrick,
Mm-hmm.
Patrick is gonna love this. We gotta clip this and make it something I can send to him because he loves to say brokers don't matter. By the time we get to where we are and what we're talking about, if I bring a gift or if I, sometimes I'll come in to distract if someone's worried about something, or bring keys.
Yeah, you can be emotional
I'm
support.
completely unneeded.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have like I said, I had 3 of them tomorrow, and one of them is a cash deal, and everybody's been in a rush. And an email just came out today from one of the realtors saying, "Can we change the time tomorrow? I'm not back from vacation at 2." And I didn't have the heart to email him back to say, "No, you're not needed."
You're not needed. In fact, it's been done.
Like when
We
you
just
come
changed the
back,
dates.
you can pick up your check.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't like.
Yep.
No, we're good. Like
Yep.
it's a cash deal.
But sometimes I want to feel special. Sometimes I'm doing that city property that Zone 2 uses a 4. I'm still working on that deal.
Oh, so in a residential 2-zoned area?
Yep.
So the max
about
is 2
Cary.
family,
Yeah, we're
and
talking
you're
about
trying
Cary.
to do a 4-family there.
I'm still doing paperwork for that.
Okay.
I've got to go pick up the where the house sits on the lot and with the dimensions on where it sits, and then make 9 copies and take that over. So I
Are
feel
you
like
charging for that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I mean, I don't know.
so
How your business is
some
set up.
days I get away easy and we buy the third house we view, and some days we look at 86 and we don't buy any. I do have a client that looked at 86 house, we didn't buy one, and then I have a repeat client who's at 45 viewings. We are about to close his 5th house. So if I can get a deal every 9, oh my God, that means the other person knows me 8 or 9 houses.
That's exactly why I chose to be a loan officer
Yep.
instead of a realtor.
Yep. I got stood up. I went to Gloversville, an hour and 5 minutes. We were just talking about Gloversville beforehand. Beautiful downtown. Tons of potential. I was looking at multifamilies there, and I texted him in the morning. It was daylight savings day. It was Monday. And I texted him. I said, hey, I'm just confirming we've got 4. Our first one's at 1 o'clock. And then, of course, something came up when he realized how far it was in daylight savings times took up. I was like, come on. 4 occupied houses with tenants. I was like, man.
And those are hard just to get the showings on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. It's like 4 days in advance and hope and poke.
Now, this actually, that just made me think of something. I've seen people attempt to purchase a house without ever visiting the house at all, right?
Oh, yeah.
So sight unseen off.
Sight unseen. My clients do it all the time.
So it's like, is that recommended though?
Do you trust your team? That's going to be a question that, Colleen, you're going to have these questions too. Like, can you build a team with agents or title companies that you can trust completely? Oh, man. And so I do a lot of renovations. Colleen, I know you're working on 3 renovations. Mom of 4, 3 renovations, 3 closings tomorrow, and still found time today.
Yes.
So thank you very much. I want to throw that out there. A lot going on with Colleen, and she still was able to find time for us. So you were in those renovations. You view them personally. You know what you want to put in. You know what you want it to look like. You're familiar with structural issues and whatever and how to fix, right?
Yes.
So if I was an investor and you were my agent/attorney, and you said I can do this, if you don't want it, I'll take it, and we had a relationship that was built on trust, that's the most important thing
Yeah.
for me. I'd buy it sight unseen.
Yeah, a lot of my clients do.
Yeah. Would you trust someone that was a taxi cab driver or an Uber driver for 3 years and just got his license from a local real estate company, doesn't know what a 2x4 looks like? Would you trust their instinct on day one?
Yeah, no.
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 Trust your team. Build a team. I'm not throwing shade at someone who's brand new. I'm excited to
No, they just have to
work
learn. It took me. I did my first flip, like flipping wise that we're talking about. I probably did my first one, it's 7, 8 years ago was my first one, probably, give or take.
17 years of experience as a attorney before you did your first
Before I ever
flip.
did my first
I
flip.
feel like at that point you know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then even with that said, when I had a very, good individual who he walked me through it. He showed me how to do it. He told me, how to look for things. And it takes time. Like you're right, you can't just have one person come in and look at one house. It does take time to learn, but once you get it, you pretty much got it. Like
Yeah.
you can spot things instantly that are wrong, major problems. After that, everything else is cosmetic.
So I like full gut rehabs because you sell, I keep.
Yeah.
Right. So I am building houses for my kids and hopefully grandkids, assuming nothing major changes. Right. So, I overspend. I overspend with the idea that I don't care if I overspend because even if I'm $30,000 over, if I was going to sell, I realize that overage. I realize that overage spending is a loss potentially. But you extrapolate it for 80 years. So what if I cash flow $150 less for the first 30, assuming I don't refinance, I don't pay the loan off faster, right? I've got 30 years of rent going up. We've seen it. Incredible rent changes over the last 5 years alone. So I can make that up. I might set me back in my cash flow projections or where I want to be. I might be 2 years behind, but I'm not losing money. And eventually it's still going to get me to where I want to be.
Yes,
So
when
by
you're looking
keeping
at
it-
it from long term, absolutely.
So by keeping it, I insulate myself from my overspending habits. But I also know when I'm done, I should be able to go 15 years with nothing but, the occasional plugged toilet or a broken window.
Well, that's the key to rehabbing when you're going to keep it. Is that, you want to rehab everything well in a good way because you don't expect problems.
Yep. So because of that, and knowing I can tell you I'm going to be $200,000 in any 2-family home. that's my rehab value.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm going to buy them below where anyone else wants to buy them. Like I will buy them currently on fire, middle of a flood.
I bought firehouses.
I'll take them still smoking.
Yeah.
Right. Because I've already calculated a full gut rehab, and now if I get lucky and I don't have to do foundation or, maybe the back porch is salvageable. They built it last year, and that's fine. That's savings I found.
Mm-hmm.
I just auto calculate $200,000 for a 2-family. That's just where I am.
Actually, I have at least 2 other investors who I've noticed have purchased multiple city-owned properties, and I've had like conversations with them. And we were hosting like a workshop. You've been to the workshops before,
yeah.
So like during the summer months, we'll host a open house workshop for the city-owned properties. And one gentleman who went there, he said something similar, like he works his numbers backwards, as opposed to like if you start at the higher number, he's like it's just way more efficient. He's like in that way he knows how much he should offer on any property before even looking at it. He's like he likes to look at them so that he can check for the major issues. He said but he really doesn't need to necessarily because he's already anticipating the worst case scenario.
Yeah. Who cares if the toilet's leaking? You're going to replace plumbing out to the road.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if the toilet leaks.
Yeah, if you've already factored it into your budget.
The worry though is downplaying your renovation costs. There are very few homes you can buy that you want to make pretty less than $50K because if you have a 2-family, you're $10,000 in appliances.
Yeah, I haven't done less than 50K. I think right now my couple 2-families, and they were actually pretty decent. Like I said, I bought them for 150, so they were in decent condition. And I'm easy 65.
Easy, right?
Yeah.
And you could very easily be near 100 for that.
Oh,
right?
Instantly you could be at 100 if you wanted to be.
Yeah, yeah. And I have a really hard time shutting off the spending, right? Because I know if I don't take care of it today, I will take care of it at some point sooner rather than I like. Right? And it's so when someone tells me, hey, I want to flip a house, I'm like, ooh. I can help you with that, but don't put me in charge of your renovation budget because I'm going to spend all of it, right?
Yeah, the opposite. I keep track of my renovation budget.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like different approaches depending on what your actual intentions for the property.
The exit strategy dictates how you do your work.
Yeah, so if you're going to live in it, then maybe you do spend the extra couple of grand on something. If you're going to be renting it out, maybe there's a certain quality work that you want so you don't have to worry about degradation over time. And then, if you're flipping it, and you want to make sure it's something that is quality but marketable and not going to
And that's where I think sometimes, like I know a couple different flippers and you can, like you're saying, like I flip it to market it to a big group of people. So it's very well done. It's nice, but it's not like completely over the top and over budget because then people just can't even afford to buy your flip.
Yep.
Because I'm looking at it as a resale. And it still have to be resealed.
Yep, absolutely. So I think that's a really good point. I showed a house the other day that wasn't my style. They prettied it up, but didn't take care of some of the structural issues. There were some waves in the floor. It was in the 150s. A 3-bed, 1-bath house.
Yeah.
I mean, all of a sudden, like I get it. Somehow in the last 30, 40 years, America has lost the desire to have a starter house. It's like, day one, I want to move into the house with the pool overlooking the mountains or whatever. I have the wants and needs of 40 years in my career driving for Uber on day one.
Yeah, people want forever homes at 22 years old.
And there is some...
But
and I've had 3 or 4 homes since my forever home.
My now 8-year-old's been in 4 apartments/houses.
Yeah.
And we've been where we are now 3 years.
I mean, our first home that my husband and I bought was before the housing bubble, so everything was going through the roof, kind of prices wise. And we bought our first home up in like Burn Ox, Westerlo, for like $70,000. It was typical, just like simple ranch on a couple acres, and that was a good deal back then.
Yeah.
Everything else was going through the roof. And then we moved to Long Island, had an apartment that was probably more than what I pay for my house right now for like a 1-bedroom. And then we came back. And actually, we couldn't even afford the house we have. Actually, I think back then we paid, like I said, I am in the country. It sits on like 170 acres.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. And it was a huge fixer-upper, honestly, that we had to do. And I think back then we paid like 3.25 for it, and we couldn't even afford to fix it. So we lived with my parents for a little while
You bought
until we could afford to fix it.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
That's what I say. It's funny because he's like, great. When you say farm and acres,
I
I
know.
feel like that's a horror movie to me.
That is less than a quarter chicken per acre.
Yeah.
We got to up those chicken numbers.
Well, they live in comfort. Let me tell you, I had my guys that do my flips come up and make them like a huge heated enclosure.
Nice.
They're good. They're just hanging out. We actually got 20 more on Monday too. So I probably have 60 now. I actually am wrong. I probably do have
Okay.
like 60 chickens
All
in
right.
there.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
So I'm interested in, because you're an experienced investor, you're an attorney, you also operate as a realtor occasionally too, right? So at what point do you think it makes sense to start involving the attorney? Like when do they get into the transaction?
oh, good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my clients call me up a lot. And honestly, my first question always is when they're like, hey, Clean, I'm buying or selling a house. Honestly, my first question always is, do you have an agent? And not because I want to be their agent. I just need to know where they are in the process. So if they have an agent, I'm usually not really worried about it because I'm like, great, your agent's going to do a contract. When you get the contract, send it over to me. Then I'll take a look at it. And even then, they're always a little nervous. Like, well, I don't want to sign anything. I'm like, it's okay. I'm like, you have at least 3 days for me to take a look at a contract. A lot of my clients get nervous because they think, oh, I'm going to sign it, and then I can't make any changes to it.
I think part of that issue is because most people don't actually read their contract.
It could be.
And in there it says attorney approval.
Yes, and I always,
Usually
the agents
3 or
I always
5
work with,
days.
David does a great job. They always at least give us like 3 business days, if not like 5 business days, so we can really take a look at it, talk to our clients, and then approve the contract. So, like I said, my first question is always, do you have an agent? If they don't, then I do take a more hands-on approach because I know at that point in time, I'm going to be doing a contract. I'm going to be the one writing the contract for them. So I need to know what's going on a little bit more. Are they buying, they selling, and figure out what stage we're in. But if they have an agent, I'm always like, okay, when I get the contract, send it over to me, and then I give my clients a call after that and review, so that way they don't get nervous.
Now, is it different depending on where you are in the state on who you would engage with first and who's doing the contract?
So the only thing about the state, really anything, that's what I found, like Columbia County is kind of like the cutoff. Okay, so Columbia County's funky in itself. All right, I love Columbia County. Oops, sorry, I've done a lot of houses down there. It's like the Kinderhook area.
Okay.
So Columbia County and South is kind of New York City. And New York City is actually completely different, even with their contracts, with their rules, with their laws. Everything's different when you're buying a house. Somewhere in Columbia County and up, I mean, you could go all the way to, Niagara. It's all going to be pretty much the same.
Okay.
All right. So, I mean, I got one contract right now in Syracuse. I've done contracts from Rochester because we have family out there. I have one contract out in Oswego. All of that stuff is honestly the same terms. It's when you do the city stuff that I try to stay away from. They don't really like coming up here, and we don't really like coming down there. It's because it's weird. It's strange. It's like a different world.
I think that's why locality makes a difference when you pick someone. Like, I don't represent people more than 30 minutes outside my house, except in Gloversville and Johnstown, because I've spent a lot of time recently. I have shown 80% of the multifamilies in Gloversville as of right now.
It's still for the most part the capital region. I know it's a little bit outside, but it's.
But I wouldn't go to. But if someone had a $10 million brownstone in New York City, would I love the commission? You bet. But I wouldn't represent them because I don't think I'd do the right job for them.
No, it's totally different.
Right.
Even legally.
Yeah.
I mean, they have different taxes down there. There's literally, I don't want to say laws, but it is. It's like different laws. It's different taxes. Whenever I fill out paperwork, there's literally different paperwork just for New York City.
Yep.
And I don't know it. Like I always tell my clients when they ask me, can you help me, like you said, sell my 2-family in Queens? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Because it's different. It's too different to figure out.
I used to run into that with when I was a loan officer because you're allowed to do loans in specific states sometimes. Mm-hmm. So because my original state that I worked in was in New York, and then I also did Georgia, so I could do everywhere except for Texas.
Okay.
Because apparently Texas has some weird stuff about it.
Well, I can tell you since you were a loan officer, after I ask them what's going on and like, do they have a real estate agent for the contract? My next question when I have buyers is who are you using for a bank?
Yep.
And I'm sure, I mean, this is my biggest number one pet peeve for my clients is to use a local bank, somebody up here. I cannot take it when I use someone from New York City. And it makes sense. I mean, all of my clients, not all of them, but a lot of them come from Queens. They buy a house up here. They go back down to Queens. It's probably 50% of them. And the banks are different.
Yes.
Like all of the loans are different. All of the banking's different. What you need a survey for down in New York City, you don't need surveys for up here. when they want what we call muni searches, like municipality searches, where you search everything down in New York City. We don't do that up here. I mean, a search like that up here takes like 6 to 7 weeks.
Yep.
And like, we don't do it. It's not needed. But when we have a bank from New York City, they're asking for all of these things. And then us as attorneys and title companies are not getting in fights, but arguing with these banks, which we don't need it to be as difficult. Because again, the rules and the laws down in New York City are different than what we have up here. So the one thing I always tell my client, if they tell me they're using, it's just, I can't even think of a name, but someone that's from downstate, I'm like,
Big city bank.
Yeah, I'm always like, okay, where do you bank? Because do you bank at, not the plug, do you bank at anybody local? Like, are you part of a credit union? Can you use Trustco? Can you use anybody that has connections here?
Yeah, that's the thing, is because loan officers are not equal. They're just not.
No.
They're still people. And people have differences in themselves, but like especially when you work for a particular institution, some people don't realize that it's not the same everywhere.
Yep.
And so they're asking you for things that they think are just standard, and you're like, no, that's actually not necessary, and that's not what. So if they don't already know your area, know what rules they have to follow, but that's why like there's certain states that's why other people aren't allowed to always do loans from, like, you can't live in California, be a loan officer there, and do a New York loan, because you have to know the difference between New York City and upstate New York.
Yeah, and even from like a closing standpoint, you know, these banks that are based down in New York City, they don't have any bank attorneys up here. Like I said, the three main people at the table are the bank attorney, me as either the buyer or the seller. So you have the buyer's attorney, the seller's attorney, and the bank attorney.
And try to find someone that's willing to drive 3 hours in the morning for $1,000.
Yeah.
3 hours each way and $50 in tolls and $50 in gas.
Yeah, so they don't have a bank attorney. So now you're trying to scramble to find an office to do it. You got checks that are in the mail somewhere that they may or may not get to a closing.
Yep.
It gets to be a mess.
Yeah, especially if they want to host the closing.
It is tremendously beneficial to be able to say, oh, I need another $350 check. We forgot something because it's over $50 or whatever. I need it certified. Go to the corner, get it. I mean, the valuation there is worth a ton. I mean, not only do you have the procedures down with the local bank, but just the accessibility and how quick you can fix an issue or talk to someone local to have that issue fixed on your behalf is incredible.
Yeah, and I get it for other clients. Like, I mean, from a standpoint right now, which is confusing to a lot of our clients, we have Chase Bank everywhere here right now, right? I just built another one over on Altamont Ave in Rotterdam.
Yep.
So our clients are banking at Chase. They go in the Chase. They get their mortgage at Chase. And then they realize that Chase has nothing to do with this area, which is kind of deceiving to them. Because then when I get their mortgage commitment from Chase, everything's based down in New York City.
Yep.
Yeah,
They have
there's
no bank.
loan officer.
They have no loan officers up here. They have no bank attorney's office up here. And it creates chaos.
One of my buddies works for Chase Bank locally, but you know, but then again, not all banks have the same thing to fit your client.
Yes.
You know, so if you went to a salad place and you were looking for hamburger, the best salad is the best they can do for you, but it's not the hamburger that you wanted. You could have gotten somewhere else.
Yeah.
So again, I think I'm going to push the, trust your team piece again, because someone with, 20, 30, 40 plus closings are going to have shook hands with and done deals with different bankers from different banks, and will be able to add their input on which place might service them better.
Yeah. And that's why I just, as the attorney, when I ask those questions at the beginning, okay, do you have a real estate agent? And then, like I said, when I'm a buyer's attorney, who are you using for a bank? I don't necessarily have one person. I'm like, oh, you got to go to this guy. I just try to steer them to be like, why don't you talk to him?
Danger word, danger, steer.
I'm like,
Guide.
Guide, you're right. Just to anybody that's local. I don't care what bank you use local. Just make a couple phone calls, use somebody local, because it's going to be easier on you and everybody else throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
So I want to get back to what Maurice asked a couple minutes ago. It says, what do you do? What's your first interaction with a client? I think is where we kind of went. And he said, when is your first interaction with a client? And it was like, okay, contract review. I like to push that out there and say, look, the reason we do contract review is to make sure that your agent, David, didn't bully you into a decision. You fully understand what the contract is, and someone who is good at contract law can describe it to you in ways that maybe I couldn't. Right? But it's a separator, it's an insulator from someone who sells the house versus someone who interprets the contract.
Right, and as a real estate agent, you can only do so much. I mean, in our area, we have the standard capital region multiple listing contract. And you can make some changes to it, but not legally. You can't make too many to it when you're dealing with your client. You can protect your client at that stage as best you can, but then, after you do everything you can, the second part comes to us, where now I can make a little bit more changes. You know what I mean? And I can talk to the other attorney, and we can make sure we have a good legal contract that everybody has agreed, so everybody's happy with. and that we can move forward with.
And that's the attorney approval process.
That's the attorney approval process.
Now, there can be things on the attorney approval process that were discussed but not put on contract, right? It could be something crazy like, hey, I'm going to sell you my inspection criteria for 10K. Could do that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But if you did that where the bank could sue it, they could say, well, now you don't have enough equity in the property,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the difference between what you can do on the table that the bank sees and the negotiating table that the attorneys see.
Correct. Because we can have our own addendums where we've agreed separately.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not appearing on something that the bank is going to red flag, but we all have a legal agreement that we know this is going to happen.
Yep.
And, at the end of the day, when we get to closing, everybody's going to be whole.
So that's where Section 8, Paragraph 8 comes in handy. And then there's but that's still visible. Right?
Yes.
And then there's
Like
the
other
invisible Paragraph 8 that's not visible.
Right.
And that's where you can get really creative with certain things. Have you ever seen or been asked to ratify something that you would be willing to talk about that you said, no, we can't do that? Do you have an example in mind that maybe something like that?
I mean, you can never commit fraud.
Yeah, sure.
So as a loan
Sure.
officer,
The biggest one.
You can't
Yeah.
commit fraud. But it always, most of the things are always in play with inspections. The banks don't like to see credits anymore. The banks don't like to see that something's wrong with the house where the seller and the buyer have completely agreed that it's going to be fixed. They're going to give a check at closing.
Yep.
And it's going to be taken care of.
Yep.
And I have one of them like that tomorrow. With the septic issue. But
Imagine,
if the bank knew,
yeah.
A septic issue would shut it down.
But
Yes.
imagine if every house had to be perfect because banks were nervous to lend, then
Nothing would get
every
lended.
price would be too high. Like, because we can't deal in only perfect. That
new construction is not perfect.
Agreed. And that's why we always should have a home inspection,
Mm-hmm.
unless we're an investor with a lot of experience and we're buying dirt. I was under, I'm putting a lot of city contracts out right now. And like, what about inspections? Well, one, you don't do inspections on city
No.
properties. But if you bought a property for $5,000, do you think the inspector's going to say, perfect home, move right
Yeah,
in?
no.
Well, so just a point of clarification.
Perfect.
Your offer is not contingent on inspection.
Okay.
But if you want to go do an inspection and pay for it out of your pocket, I just don't
You
care
can do
about
it.
Go
Yes.
on and do it.
Yep.
We'll let you in the property as often as possible.
Good clarification.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maurice. Yeah.
But so you can do an inspection.
You just can't cancel a contract.
You just can't cancel it.
But imagine, on anything over like maybe $100,000, I'm really insistent on it. And if it's going to be someone that is not a contractor, not familiar with their first house, I'm like, just do it, even if it's just for informational use. So you know where your emergency shutoff is for your boiler, and you know where your water shutoff is, or if you want to know how old or how efficient your sewer system is if you're not public. It's great informational.
Yeah, and many times as the attorney in my attorney approval letter, even though we've been conditioned on not having inspections, I work it out with the other attorney where it's kind of like you're talking about informational purposes only. We're going to go in there, it's in writing that we cannot cancel this contract because of the inspection, because it's really just an informational only inspection. Just like you said, we know there's things wrong with it. My guy just wants a better view of, like emergency shutoffs, just what they're looking at down the line.
Yep. Cool. So what type of situations have you found yourself, Colleen, with post-closing questions, comments, concerns? What have come up post-closing that you think is a relatively common occurrence versus maybe a anecdotal, crazy, doesn't happen very often? Maybe a quick story there.
Well, I think the only thing that is post-closing that's been coming up, and this is probably a good thing too, is with the property condition disclosure statements. So as of March 20th, I believe is that, they're 100% needed now. There is no exceptions anymore.
Including for people who are dead and left their house in a trust?
The only one I have to look up is estates. I meant to look that one up and I haven't found that out yet. But there's no more giving $500 anymore just because we don't want to fill one out.
Yep.
All right, so usually the only legal battles that come up after post-closing is involving those property condition disclosure statements, which you either filled out or you gave a $500 credit for because you said, I don't want to fill it out.
I don't want to be held legally responsible for any information that, while I intended to fill out correctly, I may have been.
I may have missed it, yes, which now there's not even that. That is being taken away, except for I do think estates, but I have to look into that one to find out.
It's hard to ask a grandkid who has never been to a house, hey, what's wrong with the house?
Yeah,
I mean,
they could be living in California as we talk
what do you
about.
want me to do? Walk through?
Yeah, and they don't
have
know.
have a seance and say,
Right.
Grandma, please tell me if your plumbing works.
Well, I'll
Right.
tell you what I would recommend. get your inspection
Yeah.
before selling.
But that's the thing. Even with them getting inspections, they still come back sometimes and have those lawsuits to say, well, the inspector couldn't see it. You were hiding it. It was a material defect you knew about, and we're going to go after you and sue you.
Yeah.
You know,
I liked the $500 insurance policy of don't come back to me. If you're selling a house,
I did too. I'm not a big
was-
fan of the change, personally.
$500 was an easy way to get out. And
And again, if you were in New York City, speaking of different rules, they never fill it out. They always give $500. It's not even a question. I've never seen one New York City contract where they filled it out. They always just give the $500.
yeah, easy peasy.
Easy peasy. It's like another, chewing gum to them, $500 on
Cost
a
of
$1
doing
million
business.
house. Yeah.
Cost of doing business.
Yes. But now we have no choice anymore. I do think the estate one should be an exception, but I'm not a fan of this new rule.
Yep.
It's going to be, again, people that don't, I think you'll see a lot more lawsuits on it. They say you won't. I think you will.
We're in a lawsuit.
Well,
heavy
we're
country.
in the U.S. This
Yes,
is what we do.
they sue on everything.
We sue and eat fast food.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's the only other one that I've seen miss sometimes, and unfortunately it does happen. Because again, we don't check for the Moonies. We don't check for waters or certain violations. And every once in a while, I'll have a client call me back up to be like, there's like a $2,500 outstanding, water bill sitting out there, and then they're mad. And then sometimes with the title documents, you can go after the individual on the seller side because they do sign an errors and omissions. So sometimes you can go after the seller and be like, okay, you probably knew there was $2,500 sitting out there for a water main break. But those are really
It's like, how do you not know that, right? Because you pay your
the
tax
seller
bill.
knows. It's there.
And the same people who are feeing you because of that, the same people.
Hard to prove a negative, though.
Yeah.
It's like, well, prove that aliens don't exist. Well, if an alien exists and he's sitting in this table, or she or it, there's the alien. Existence proven. Prove they don't exist. Well, they're not here now.
Depends on
what if whatever its name would be is late, missed the bus. It's on its way, phone died.
I agree with that.
Proving a negative is hard.
It is. However, who is the burden of proof on?
There we go. Now we're
It's
back
what
to
it
now we're
matters.
back to where does the dollar stop?
Yeah, the
right?
key in that is, literally your title and your title documents, because that E&O that they sign is how you go back and try and get them. But most of the time when those actually come up, they're usually foreclosures, so there's nobody to come back and get anyway. So,
question for you: title insurance. Is it recommended? What is it for?
it's necessary, 100%. 100%. So, title insurance is 100% necessary. You cannot buy a house and get a mortgage without title insurance. Okay. And there's really, I don't want to say there's two types, but there's two ways you can buy title insurance. So when you get a mortgage, the bank requires 100% that they are insured by title insurance. So what it does is essentially a title company, they go back 40 years, which is pretty much the standard. All right. So they'll go back 40 years and they'll search everything from 40 years. From liens, judgments, back taxes, mortgages, anything that could be on the books in a county clerk's office for 40 years. They go back. They make sure everything's good. If there's any mortgages, they make sure they're either cleaned up or paid off at the table. Judgments, same thing. And they make sure all the deeds, to the best of their knowledge, are all good and there hasn't been any fraudulent deeds or anything put in there. And they make sure that the bank is insured because the bank's giving hundreds of thousands of dollars out, and the bank wants to make sure that money that they're giving on your property is free and clear. So when you buy it, the day you buy it, the only mortgage on the property is the bank's. There's no judgments or liens or back taxes or anything. It's a perfectly good,
Starting over from scratch.
yeah, starting over from scratch. So you have to get that. As a lawyer, and I think Patrick would probably agree, the other one
Equity writer.
yeah, you got to get the owner's policy also. So there's another policy which costs you a couple $100 more, depending on, title insurance works off of the amount of your loan. So the amount of your loan is it's a standard rate in New York. So it's not like this title company can be charging X amount of dollars for this loan. It's all a standard rate calculator based on how much your loan of value is. Okay, you can charge some more in
Ancillary
tax search,
fees.
ancillary fees, but your
Little
actual
stuff.
policy is a set rate. Every title company is the same. And then you get your owner's policy, which protects you. So again, it's based off of your loan amount. Actually, that one's based off your purchase price, but usually you're not talking thousands of dollars more unless you are, buying $1 million home. But on the average home, you're talking maybe $300-400 more to get a policy that protects you. So let's just say I'm sitting in my house 5 years after I bought it. Someone knocks on my door and says, hey, you don't own your house. And you're like, yeah, I do. I got my deed. Nope, there was a fraudulent deed. Your title company messed up. You don't own your house. So the bank's protected. If this is true, the bank is protected that the title company pays back the bank and takes care of the bank. Now, if you don't have your owner's policy, you are literally sitting there without a house.
All
at
your
this point in
equity
time.
is basically has been stolen through something.
Something.
So it also comes down now, and correct me if I'm wrong, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about title except we always buy it.
Yep.
Right?
Always.
You do a
Got it.
search, always, and you buy it.
Yep.
Right. Because I trust the people on my team. I'm going to keep saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Team is big.
Team is huge.
Huge.
Right. You're out there with someone that doesn't have your best interest or withholds knowledge or gives you.
I mean,
knowledge
I don't
that's
trust.
based on a
I don't
guess.
buy a property if my title company says not. Even if she's questionable, I don't buy it.
Yep.
I mean, because I can't sell it.
Yep.
Yeah.
If someone bought a house with 5% down and they're in it for like $20K, it still makes sense to do it because it's
Yes.
$200, $300, $400 to protect your $20K.
For the rest of your life.
But
The rest of the time you own it.
Imagine buying a house with 40% down and you're in 120K and you're like, I don't want to pay the $300.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference there is drastic.
Drastic.
Right.
And then you're literally without everything. You will lose everything.
All that equity
Yeah.
just
And the
flies
beauty
away.
about your owner's policy, which is why I always tell my clients, you get the owner's policy on top of what the bank wants. I know you're paying it's a couple bucks more, you don't even realize it. The beauty about the owner's policy is even when you go to sell, the average person does not stay in their home, what, 5, 6
It used to
years?
be nationwide standard was 7 years up until like low 20 teens, and now it's like 8.5.
Okay.
And baby boomers are some of the averages, like depending on if you're going medium mode, are in the 30 years they haven't moved.
Really?
Yes, it was in all.
That is impressive.
I think Albany Business Review had it.
Okay.
And they were talking. It was either that or the Realtor magazine talked about the differences of people staying in their home and what's pushing the average around, and why there's maybe not the right homes that we would expect in a normal market. Yeah.
Wow.
But
That
that's
number.
because the boomers are skewing the numbers wrong the other way
Probably.
too.
But-
Like, Gen X and lower.
But
like,
averages are
Probably.
averages. But yeah, it has normally been 7, and I think now we're talking about 8.5, moving to
Okay.
9.
But if 8.5, you buy your house, 8.5 years, you go to sell. All right. And then the person buying your house is going to do a title search because it is really malpractice not to do a title search. So they're going to do a title search, and it could be like, oh, hey, we just found a mortgage that wasn't discharged, or we found a mortgage back, from like 1950, that's on the record. So now you can't sell your house. And, people freak out. They're trying to figure it out themselves. But hey, if you have your owner's policy, you either call up the attorney who did it, or you get your owner's policy and you look it up and you call that number, and that title company has to deal with it. They will.
Yeah.
They have to defend you if there's any issues. They have to pay it if they can't figure it out, and they'll do all the work for you to make sure that you can sell your house because you bought an owner's policy. That's as good as you own the property
less
for.
of the cost of your homeowner's insurance.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yep.
Because forever.
It is literally a one-time fee at closing that is forever. You don't pay it again. You pay it at closing, and you're done.
Yep.
So I always have my clients buy owner's policy because I can't tell you how many times it has come up when they go to sell and there's a mortgage that was missed or there was a judgment that was missed. Something was missed. I mean, these title companies are great, but every once in a while things get missed. And rather than my clients scrambling to try and fix it themselves, which they don't know how to do it, you call up the title company and they do it.
Most title companies though can clear issues. Like I've
Pretty
had
quickly.
I've had things like one came up yesterday. I got a call from a seller, and it's like this and that, and there's a non-discharged property, and he has the payoff letter like
Yeah.
in his hand. He
A
has
lot
the
of
payoff
times
letter.
they have them.
Yeah,
They tell
And
them
he
to go to
emails
the
you.
basement and they got 'em.
right. So I mean, hopefully that's taken care of. And there was some other things. I'm like, man, the people who are good at what they do are really good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had, Dave, we can't close. Patrick says, Dave, there's like 6 problems with title. Like 3 are already really easy. The other 3 are going to be really hard. And 6-7 days later, it's like, I need your commission statement. We're ready to close tomorrow. I'm like,
Yeah.
holy cow, that was 5-8 business days.
And when you have
Incredible.
there's very few occasions where I've had just absolute disasters when my clients had the
Mm.
owner's policy. I mean, the owner's policy usually fixes 99% of the problems.
Which is huge.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
you're right. And we're closing in 6 to 7 days.
Yep.
So I've had people. So I get calls from people who are just looking for basic guidance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I get calls from people who maybe need a discharge from a grant lien or something
Yeah.
like that, right? Because for some reason, like a lien that was only supposed to last 3 years, because most government agencies are not going to automatically do a discharge for you. You actually have to ask them for it.
Yes.
So
I just
what'll-
asked the city for one the other day.
Oh, you
In fact,
did?
I got to pick it up after this. That's a good reminder.
So what often happens is but it'll be like 10 years later, and then someone will be like, I don't know what to do, or like sometimes I'll get a call from a realtor, and he'll be like, listen, my client's panicking. We're supposed to close in less than 2 weeks. We don't know what to do. And I'm like, okay, well, calm down. What are you talking about? And I'm like, well, send me whatever the attorney sent you. And I'm like, okay, so that's definitely New York State. You're looking at, 7 days to get that back on average. Now, the only thing with it is, so when you have people who have experience, they know who's supposed to submit the paperwork for you to get the discharge, which I've noticed there's a difference between that. Because like certain programs, New York State, whatever municipality administered the loan has to submit it for them to release it. Mm-hmm. But if they know who it is, like a lot of times they'll just call them themselves. And just like, hey, send your paperwork for this guy.
Yeah, I needed like a reverter release the other day. It took me like 2 days to get it from the city.
Yeah,
and it's been sitting on somebody's desk that I have to pick up today after this. That just reminded me.
But that's why I think being local is important. Like, I wouldn't have any idea how to do a muni search in Rochester.
No.
Right? I wouldn't know who to call if I had an issue. I'm certainly not going to sit across from a city official every other week, and have a chat with them.
Yeah, I mean,
being
we still
local
got
is huge.
title. Most of the time when I even do things out of the area, it's pretty much a lot of cash deals, so it's not as complicated. But there's no bank, and title we can work on.
Yeah.
Now, I have also noticed, so there are a lot of people who are interested in the city-owned properties, or they're getting auction properties from different municipalities, or they're engaging with land banks. And I had somebody call me because he's like, I don't know what to do. This isn't one of your properties, but I don't no one will give me title insurance. And I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, well, who foreclosed on it? And then when they told me you foreclosed on it, I said, ask them who the hell the title company was who did the search. 9 times out of 10, that title company will insure it themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. So but I have come across some people they're panicking because they're like everybody else. Everybody's telling me that nobody will do this. And I'm like,
Well, the problem becomes, when you're dealing with auction properties, foreclosure properties, anything has to be foreclosed on, and all of them have to be foreclosed on with auctions or the land banks, and a lot of title companies are afraid of it because there's that right to redeem that they put into place. I think Cuomo put it into place a number of years ago.
You give them 2 years.
Yeah, with the 2 years.
That's the trigger. So 2 years in a day is you're in a different spot.
Yeah, so that's why a lot of companies won't do it, is because it's a 2-year right to redeem. So they don't want to take the chance on that. And so, but usually you are right. The person that always will is whoever foreclosed.
Yeah, because they did the research, so they know more about it, hopefully.
Right.
And so therefore they're willing to do it a lot of times. But I have noticed that coming up in conversations a lot lately too.
But that's part of marketable title is part of that. So
we have insurable and marketable,
Yes.
two different things. Their property could be insurable, or yes, we can insure it, but then it's not marketable because they have a 2-year right to redeem in there. So a bank would look at that and be like, nope, not touching it, not giving a mortgage towards it, because we could give you a mortgage and someone can come back in 2 years and contest it. Not to say they get it back 100%, but they can come back and contest it, and kind of opening up Pandora's box. Mm-hmm. And that's when a property becomes not marketable. So whenever I do my contracts, it has to be insurable and marketable. Because if it's not, then
I
it's
like that.
Yeah. Well, with banks, most banks, especially the large ones, they want us to be able to sell the loan if they need to.
Right.
And when they're packaging that, because they're not just selling your particular loan, they're packaging you with some of the people who they don't want on their file at all. Mm-hmm. And you being new means you're good, so you're balancing each other out. So to make it marketable to most other buyers, so you'll see what is it, Mr. Cooper pops up.
Oh yeah, I got Mr. Cooper all the time.
All the time.
All the time is payoffs.
I don't know this
That's
guy,
a big bank. I don't. Yeah, it's Mr. Cooper Loans.
It's a name that they do business under, but they have a secondary name. But you see Mr. Cooper.
When I get a payoff, it says Mr. Cooper.
Yeah. So I've heard of Mr. Cooper, but when you start talking about that and you're like, yeah, they're going to combine things. I'm like, oh man, have you watched The Big Short this month? Because that's just a great movie.
Oh, I did watch that. That was great. That was a great movie.
Oh
yes.
my God. If you haven't watched The Big Short, if you want to have a lack of faith in our
system
in general, thank you. Because that touches everything, right?
Yeah.
That is such an eye-opening and good movie, and it's fun. They break the fourth wall several times, and there's an Anthony Bourdain moment in there, which is always great.
I liked him.
Yeah.
But long story short, so the purpose in banks wanting things marketable and insured is so that they can potentially sell it if they need to. So when they want to sell your debt off to someone else, so if if you do an FHA loan, 9 times in 10 they're going to sell you. Yep. Unless that bank just happens to hold on to theirs.
Well, that's why all my clients want to read the mortgage. I'm like, don't even bother. I'm like, except for your specific terms, you don't have to read everything else because every other single bank has the exact same terms in their mortgage for when they go to sell it.
Yep.
Because they don't want to have 50 different ways of how they have to foreclose on somebody. Every bank wants the one standard way. which is why all your mortgages, all the terms are the same, except for your specific terms.
The front page will
front
have a
page.
little symbol of the bank on it.
Yes.
And that's it. And then your name.
But everything else becomes standard documents.
Standard documents behind it, because every bank, when they go to sell, which majority of them do,
Yeah.
Yep.
they know how to foreclose.
Yeah. So moral of the story is get the insurance.
Get your owner's policy. I've had it save so many clients. And you know what's good about it too? You go to sell. A lot of my guys are investors, so they buy, they do it. 6 months later, they're ready to sell. Now everything's quicker because the bank doesn't. Or the next title company doesn't have to go back 40 years.
Yeah.
If you have your owner's policy, they look at it.
You forward it to the
Yep,
buyer, and
they just go back from there because you got an owner's policy. It looks great, and they'll shoot out title in 2 days, 3 days.
The
rather than
marketability is
2 to 3
huge.
weeks.
It's hugely different because of that.
Yes, that owner's it's such a great piece of paper to have for a couple $100 that you pay one time.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, so I wanted to do the takeaway here. We're down to our last couple minutes here. Thank you very much for coming out. Well, hopefully minutes, but we'll wrap it up here soon. I want to thank you, Colleen, for coming out and sharing your knowledge on that. My biggest takeaway and my biggest influencing factor is, know your team. If you have a member of the team that you're not happy with, you can change it out. You're not stuck. Like if I recommend a bank and you don't like that bank, or I recommend an attorney, you don't like that attorney, or I recommend a title company, you've heard you stayed up late last night doing research on a title company, you want to do something else, we're flexible.
Yeah.
Right? It's an a la carte.
That's why I
kind of
don't
menu.
tell my clients they can't when they tell me the bank. I just say, could you try to use somebody local? That's all.
Yeah.
Just try to
The
use somebody
verbiage
local.
matters.
The verbiage
especially
matters.
so you don't get in trouble later.
Yes. Yeah, I don't always say,
I
I
steer
never
them this
pick out
way.
one person. I just say, where do you bank?
Yep, yep.
And then,
Yep.
guide them towards maybe somebody local because it's easier. I mean, I always say, have a good realtor, have a good lawyer, have a good title company, and just make sure your team's great.
Yep. Cool. I think that's going to wrap us up. I mean, that's...
Yeah. Well, do you have anything particular going on that we should keep an eye out for in the future?
Right. Well, I got two families coming out that I
Yep.
flipped. One over on Avenue B and one on 7th Avenue.
Give us those addresses. So there's hopefully going to be...
1735, 1737 Avenue B. That's a 3/3. And then that one's pretty much done. And then 1321 7th Avenue is just getting started. And that's going to be 3/3.
Cool.
So.
Because it's starting to get warmer out. People
Oh,
are
they're
starting to
coming.
look for homes.
People are looking around.
If we could go under contract now, we could still plant daffodil bulbs.
Really?
Right?
Really?
Yes. Yep. If we go under
May?
contract now, we can hopefully still get them in.
March, April.
How do
Yeah.
you know that?
Well, I don't know why he
Daffodils?
knows that, but May is.
We got to be fast.
Mother's Day when they come up, right?
Yeah. Maybe we got to start them inside
Yeah.
at this point.
I don't.
Sunflowers then.
I kill every
sunflower
flower. I
planting,
don't know. I'm
yeah.
not good with flowers.
But-
I don't. They don't survive with me.
The process
I
takes
try.
time. Even when people come and pay cash, it's still, because we're going to pull title.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can't not, right?
30 days.
30 days.
30 days for
on
cash. 45 days. I think you can get a mortgage done.
So what's 45 days from today? We're end of March, middle of May? March, April.
Yeah.
April. March,
Plant your
April.
daffodils.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's March 12th. Yeah.
That puts us end of April. So, if you have an outside activity that you want to celebrate your house, we could do it as early as April 1, maybe.
Plant the
Maybe
flowers.
plant the flowers.
March, April, no, May. What's 45 days from today? We just did that.
Well, 30
May.
days would be
Not much.
halfway through April. So then
Yeah.
another
May
15
1.
Just about
days
May.
in
May
May.
1.
May flowers. All right, cool.
So almost in time for Mother's Day.
Almost in time for Mother's Day. What a gift. Thank you very much. That wraps up our time here. And, Maurice, you mentioned a homes program.
Oh, you're talking about the workshop?
Yes. Can we end on that? Because we have a lot of people that might be interested on that. There's more city properties coming to market every day.
Yes.
They're very popular.
So we'll be doing our open house workshops starting in the warmer months, but there will be an interest form. So if someone wants to get an email, we usually host them at a local library that's relatively close to whatever property we're going to go visit as a group right afterwards. So you can ask all your questions, anything that you want to know, as candid as you'd like.
So you're going to see you or another representative of the city, and then we're going to actually go into some of these.
Oh, it's
homes.
definitely going to be me because no one's getting paid to do it, so I got to be there.
You're the one. And we'll actually see him in person.
So I'll be there. We'll be in person. You'll get to ask questions. A lot of times I invite people who actually care about you being successful through the process. So sometimes we'll ask a local attorney who represents a lot of different clients. We'll ask local realtors to come by who have seen city-owned property so that they can kind of tell you what their thought process is when they're looking at that too, and just important things to consider. And often we even have experienced investors who have purchased with the city before, and then they'll walk through and tell you, hey, this is, if I was going to do this property, this is what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, it's a good panel. I participated in one time. It was
Yeah.
a really nice panel of people.
Fantastic. And if I want to know when, where, and how to get to that, where would I find that information?
So if you go on the city's website under the home section, just click the little blue circle that has a house on it. On the left-hand side, there's a link that says Homes Open House Workshop. So probably by the end of the week, there will be, when you click that link, it'll ask you to click that you want to hear about them when they come out.
Cool.
And then usually we do like once a month in the warmer months.
I'm looking forward to them.
All right.
And warm weather.
Yes.
Yes.
It's good.